doing too much. What the hell was that? Just a dummy. The only time he want to talk about some family was when it's some funds involved. You think you're smarter than the program, and you're not. Hello, little enzymes. Happy Halloween if you celebrate the holiday today. I should have did some spooky stories now that I think about it, but I'm not gonna lie, when I do scary stories, I'd be spooked out myself, and I'm just here alone, so I don't like to do too much scary stuff. Anyways, the topic for today is going to be step family drama. Everything is included in the description, so let's go ahead and get into it. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepkids that I no longer view them as my kids? Yikes. To start this off, this is a throwaway as I don't want this connected to my main account. I'm 36 female and my husband is 42 male and has 2 daughters who are 16 and 13. My husband and I have been together for 8 years. For some context, the girls have a mom who's just not active in their life. She comes around once a year or every other year and stays for 2 to 3 months and then leaves. The problem is when she comes in town, the girls change. For example, after me and their dad got married, they started calling me mom as they felt I was their mom. But when their mom came back, they would stop and call her mom and push me to the side. I understand why they did that then as they were young and confused and were trying to please her. We put them in therapy and their therapist had them apologize and they tried to explain it. The next 2 times it happened, she told me to try and have a talk with them. Their mom decided not to come for the next 2 years, and it was a really peaceful 2 years. The kids were good, enjoying school, their new brother, and they were just happy. This year, their mom decided to come. She came in August and stayed until about a week ago, and this was posted in October, so that's August, September, about 2 months. This time, when she came, the girls changed completely. It started with not calling me mom, to saying disrespectful things to me and their dad. Then to them telling their brother they didn't like him and that he wasn't their real brother and some other stuff. But the main thing they said that really hurt was I wasn't their mom and that I would never be and that I'm a bad stepmom and their mom is their only mom. Damn. Yikes. How old are they? 16 and 13. Now, like she said, when they were younger, I feel like they get more of a pass. But at 16, the 13-year-old maybe even gets a little bit, but still. But at 16 for sure. You know what you're saying. You know what you're doing. I wonder if they're being manipulated by the biological mom. Maybe she's feeding them stuff and telling them things. I don't know. If I was a father, I don't know if I would allow this biological mom to have even access. If she can't show that she can be consistent, I don't know if I would be allowing her to even have access. But then the girls might try to blame the dad and say, oh, you kept her away when she wanted to. This is a complicated situation, but damn, that is rude as hell. You are not our mom and you'll never be our mom and you a bad stepmom at that. Now, I don't know the lady. That claim could be true. It could very well be true. My apologies. I got a phone call, but I think I was at the part where I was saying that's rude as hell, basically. You know, especially given their age. I feel like they're at the age where they know about what makes people feel good, what makes people not feel good, respect, all that type of stuff. And you talk about something, you not my mom, you bad stepmom, all of this. Okay. Okay. So she said, so last week when their mom left, they slowly tried to crawl back and tried to start calling me mom again. And I told them I didn't want them to call me that anymore. They looked shocked when I said that and asked why. I told them that they told me multiple times that I'm not their mom and that I'm a bad stepmom and that their mom is their only mom. So I said I no longer view you as my kids. Now, is it the route I would have taken? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe so. I mean, to be honest, you're sitting there, you've been in their lives all these years, taking care of them, doing things for them. They can't give you the basic respect and decency and try to discard you when their mom comes, but pick you back up when it's convenient and they need a mother figure in their life. I might say the same thing. She said they looked hurt and went to tell their dad what was said, and he said it's between us. Their therapist thinks I was harsh, but I don't, as they are old enough to realize what's wrong to say and what's right. That's what I'm saying. She said, note, I also want to put, I don't blame the younger one as much as I blame the older one, as she should know better. And I understand things with parents are hard, but I was younger than her when I cut my father off, and he was similar to how their mom is. The rose-colored glasses should be faded or fading by now, as she's old enough to understand. Exactly the same thing I was thinking too. Exactly the same thing. Here is a comment that got downvoted. They said, info, when their mother is around and they treat you like this, where is their father in that? And what are you both saying while they're doing that behavior? It reads as if this is the first time you've ever laid out the inevitable consequence of being treated like this, and you're enforcing it straight up, which is an a-hole move. But the response of your husband that this is between you is a complete abdication of his responsibility here. Like, everyone sucks here, but I'm leaning towards the hierarchy of a-holes is 1, your husband, 2, you, and 3, the 16-year-old. And the 13-year-old is just following what her mother and sister want. But congratulations, you've proved the ex right. I'd guess she alienates them from you by telling them that you're not there for them unconditionally. And, well, that's true. That's quite the interesting take. Opie responded, when they're doing that behavior, he will punish them, take their stuff away. This is not the first time I've made consequences for them doing this stuff. Just last time it was less of an extreme, as what they said then was less extreme. Someone else said, it sounds like their mom is in their ear telling them stuff, probably lies about you and their dad. That's what it seems like is happening every time their mom shows up. They probably miss her and want her validation, so they listen to her. And then someone responded to that and said, I think they're just trying to please her in the hopes that if they do, she will start meeting their needs. Maternal abandonment is damaging in a primal way, and for most, even having excellent additional parents doesn't erase the pain and confusion of knowing that someone who made you wants nothing to do with you. I do agree with that sentiment, but also I feel like I still hold the 16-year-old accountable for what she is saying and how she is acting. I feel like that's old enough to know. Someone else said, the biggest thing that stood out to me is that your husband had nothing to say except it's between the three of you. What the girls said to you and what you said to them was all very hurtful, and your husband shouldn't be turning a blind eye to this. These words are relationship altering, and he should be intervening to try and keep his family together and work it out. I understand where you're coming from and why you said what you did. I can't say for sure if I would have had the guts to say the words, but it sounds like they maybe needed to be said. Also agree with that. Husband is a little too hands off for my liking. That's between y'all. No, it's your kids too. If anything, you should be more involved because you're the actual biological parent in this equation. But again, like I said, I don't know if I would have took that approach and said what she said, but also I've never been in this situation, so I really couldn't say. Maybe I would have. Maybe I would have said worse. Someone said, your girls need to understand everyone, even parents, have feelings that can be hurt. My take is you need to navigate this because you're stuck with these mean girls and you are their parent. I wouldn't want them calling me mom either because you don't treat your mom that way. But we all know they are being influenced by bio mom, and you need to be the bigger person in this situation. Be the positive influence on them, but set those boundaries as to how you will accept being treated. Also, kick your husband in the rear. That is a mature comment. And basically, the sentiments are pretty much kind of like similar, about she's the adult. Maybe they wouldn't have said that. Maybe they can try to work it out with the girls, etc., etc. So 1 week later, I'm back with an update. And before I give the update, I want to start by answering a few of the main questions I saw. I saw a lot of questions that asked, why do we allow their mother in their lives? I'm not over that. My husband feels like it's not on him to keep the girls from seeing her. He will ask if they want to, and they say yes. Another question I saw a lot of was, why doesn't their dad say anything? He does. He's taken away their things and has tried to have talks with them. They just listen and block him out. The reason why he stayed out is because whenever they don't like something I tell them, they run to him. He has said he does side with me on this, but feels I was too hard on them. Now for the update. A few days after I posted this, my husband and I sat down with the girls and I told them that I was sorry for what I said and that I worded it wrong. I told them I still view them as my kids. They just aren't allowed to call me mom anymore and have to call me by my name from now on. I also told them that our relationship is broken and I didn't break it. I did help a little, but they broke it. And if they wanted it back to how it used to be, they would have to rebuild it. I don't know if I agree with that choice of wording either, but okay. She said, I also told them they had to play with their brother for 3 hours and apologize to him. He's 4. They had a few more I don't know if I'm not really agreeing with her how she's handling this so far. Making them play with their brother as a punishment just enforces like the negative feeling that they have with their brother. So now you making me play with a 4-year-old for 3 hours so that I can not like him even more because now I'm forced to play with him. I don't know if that, I see what she's trying to do there. I don't know if I would have done that. Also, putting the onus on them and telling them they broke the relationship and they can, yes, I mean, it is true that they did, but I feel like maybe a more family-centered wording, like we both did things wrong, we both can, I don't know. Again, I'm not in this situation though, so maybe that was the best thing to say. She said they had a few more punishments, but we did talk to them and try to figure out what she says that influences them so much. We got the answer of, I don't know. We told them that they can't be easily manipulated, and especially the 16-year-old with her going to college soon and trying to drive. So we talked about things that could happen with that. We also told them they can't just say what they want to people and expect things to stay the same, especially if it's things that hurt people. They apologized for the things they said and how they acted and said they wanted things to go back to normal. I told them that I would forgive them when they did the stuff with their brother first, and that if they want things to go back to normal, then they would have to work for it. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. Oops, my screen is not sharing. I feel like that gives them a bit of like consequence for their actions type of thing, so that they know like you can't just say things, then apologize and then expect everything to like be Gucci. It don't always work out like that. Typically, it never works out like that. So I do agree with her saying that part. She said from what they said, they don't want to see their mom for a long time. So they will go to their therapist soon and talk to her about this. Edit, I've worded myself very wrong. They have to play with their little brother as an apology to him. He's 4. If they apologize, he's going to say it's okay and then continue to ignore them. So it's not a punishment, more of his apology. I still don't get it, but okay. Oh, she's saying I gave the punishment of playing with their brother because an apology won't mean much to him because he's 4. He'll probably forgive them and just keep avoiding them like he's been doing. So I feel like playing with him would help rebuild their relationship and would be a better apology to him. Also, they don't have to play with him for the 3 hours. I would take 30 minutes as long as they try to fix what was broken. Okay, that makes more sense. Someone said, taking away the title of mom is a wildly insane punishment. It's so horrible for a child. They will never forget that. It's not making amends. OP has failed these children. She's trying to get away with it. As a mother myself with a horrible mom, I've tried to undo damage from her for 20 years. It makes me sick to know what these young girls must be feeling. Telling someone not to call you mom when you're the functional mother is disturbing. OP responded, I took it away as I don't need it. I don't need them to be confused on who to call mom when they want to please their bio mom by calling her mom and then trying to use the word mom as a weapon towards me. Again, I know I'm their mom. I don't need a word to tell me that, but I'm not going to let them use the word as a weapon towards me. Yeah, I don't really agree with that one either. I feel like she was she was on the right track when I can't remember where it was, but basically saying like, talk to them, set some boundaries, let them know how you felt about the situation, how it hurt you, how they can't just talk to people like that and expect things to go back to normal. But then she kind of went off the rails a little bit in how she actually handled it. And there's several things here that I don't particularly agree with, especially given that the girls are still minors. Yes, the 16-year-old should know better. At the same time, they are still minors, and they do still need a little bit of redirection and correction, if that makes sense. Like, you can't punish them too much to where they just going off on a totally different, I feel like she definitely could have handled this situation better, because it's gonna permanently alter their relationship. Hey, we'll go to the next story. There's no update yet. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex-husband and one of his future stepkids come inside? Our custody arrangement is for each of us to pick the kids up on our day during our 2-hour pickup window. He arrived at the house and I already had the boys ready. I saw his car pull into the driveway on my camera, so the boys were already halfway to the door when my ex knocks. I open the door and he is holding the hand of a 4-year-old. He asks to come in and says his fiance's son needs to use the bathroom. I told him I don't want him to come inside because I don't feel comfortable with him in my house. He has a history of snooping through my things. He asked me to take his future stepson to the bathroom, and I said I was uncomfortable with the situation. He said his stepson needed to pee. I suggested the McDonald's up the road. He said my bathroom would be way cleaner than a McDonald's. At this point, my 11-year-old started pestering his dad to stop so they could leave. My ex said, "Your brother needs to use the bathroom." My son said, "I'll take him." My ex said, "No, your mother would rather he pee his pants. We'll go, and hopefully we'll get to the McDonald's in time." My ex and the boys left. He messaged me afterwards saying I was cruel to a child to punish him, and that's not okay. He said I made us both look bad in front of our kids and should be embarrassed of my actions. I have been fighting with him for so long, my perspective is screwed up. Was I in the wrong? No, I don't think so. At first, I was like, maybe the boy really, really did have to use the restroom and she's just being like super strict, but she know him better than we do. And a few things were red flags to me in this situation. One being that she said he snoops. He has been caught snooping before. Two being that the 11-year-old offered to take the boy to the bathroom, and he didn't want to accept that. He didn't want to accept that help, which means he basically was trying to find a way to get her distracted. This is what I think. He was trying to find a way to get her distracted, get in the house some kind of way to do what, I don't know. But I don't really trust the situation. It does sound shady. If I was her, I wouldn't let him in the house. And then also, why are you not prepared? You know we have this 2-hour pickup window regularly. This is a regular occurrence that happens, what she say, every week? Why didn't you take the little boy to the bathroom before? Or, like she said, take him up to the McDonald's after, talking about it'll be cleaner. It sounded shady. And I understand. And, at the end of the day, you don't have to let him into your house. At the end of the day, you're not obligated to do that. Somebody said, not the a-hole. He wanted to snoop. This was obvious after he rejected your son's offer to take the kid to the bathroom. Sneaky, isn't he? Opie responded, always has been. He's an intelligent man. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was the cherry on top when he wouldn't even let the son take his brother to the bathroom. It's like, oh, it's not really about the bathroom now, is it? Somebody said, okay, so I like to ask my husband these scenarios and get his 2 cents. He seems to think, because you have stated you've had multiple problems with the ex, that this was more about control. He wanted you to do what he said. Was the boy hurting and crying because he had to go? If not, my spouse thinks it was a power play by your ex. If it were me, I would have asked my son to take him and told the ex to go wait in his car. But if this douche just likes to jerk you around, then not the a-hole. Exactly. OP responded, he was holding my ex's hand and kind of looking around. He didn't say anything. I think I'm leaning towards power play too, for whatever reason in his mind. Update 7 days later, I did talk to my lawyer about what happened. He said we can address it at the hearing. We already have scheduled about the movie situation. I don't know what that means. I thought that was that, but of course, it was my turn to pick up the kids today. When I arrived at my ex's place, he opened the door very wide and invited me in. I was suspicious and said, no, thank you. He kept insisting I come in so we can show the kids we are civil, but I had a bad feeling. I said I would just wait in the car for the boys to come out. I got in my car and texted my older son that I was there. A short while later, he texted me back saying his dad said they couldn't leave unless I got them. I went back to the door and knocked again. Again, my ex invited me inside. I said I didn't want to come in, and that was when my boys showed up. My ex's fiance was right behind them, telling them to come back upstairs. They ran to me and we left. I don't know what his game is, but I'm not falling for it, whatever it is. He doing too much. What the hell was that? Why was he trying to get her to come inside? Nah, I watch too much true crime, okay? This sounds very, very suspicious. You better keep your head on a swivel, OP, because this man is up to no good. I don't know what he trying to do. And the fiance in it too, talking about telling the boys to go back upstairs. I'm not liking it. Are y'all in the middle of, are y'all divorced yet? Were y'all married or, yes, she said ex-husband. So I'm assuming they're already divorced. This is sounding real shady. Somebody said, not the a-hole. He was way too insistent for you to come in and then refusing to let your kids leave? No. Always follow your gut, especially when the spider is so persistent in inviting the fly into the parlor. Someone said, what's the movie situation? OP responded, I had plans to take the boys to the movies and he wanted me to not take them so he could take them during his custody time. I let them decide and they wanted to go on opening day, my custody time. I took them. He's saying I shouldn't be able to take them to a movie he specifically told me not to take them to. I think that only applies when it's a movie he doesn't want them seeing at all, not one he is okay with them seeing, but merely wants to take them to himself. This man definitely is controlling. He doing too much. I see why they got divorced. You're doing too much. So 5 days later, she said, just concluded our hearing and it went okay, all things considered. Judge said that neither of us need the permission of the other to take the children to age-appropriate experiences like movies. He told X not to tell me I can't take the kids to do certain things because he wants to do them. If he wants to do them, he can, but so can I. So that was a win. Judge was annoyed that there was another drop-off issue. He was especially annoyed because the reason he gave my ex a 2-hour window for drop-offs was because he said he needed the flexibility since he is a caretaker of his fiance's children. If he's taking them with him to drop-offs, why does he need 2 hours? Judge told him, do not take his fiance's children to my house and do not ask to come inside my house. He told me not to ask to go inside his house either. He also told me not to rush my ex and to be patient and allow the children time to come to the door. I wasn't rushing him, but I didn't say that to the judge. I just agreed. X also dropped the bombshell that the week of the wedding, he needs me to pick the kids up from the resort the wedding is at instead of his house because they're going on their honeymoon straight from the resort and not returning home. I am very uncomfortable with this, and my lawyer said that is too much of a burden to put on me. The judge disagreed with my lawyer and said, we all have to be flexible sometimes, so I am stuck doing that. I feel like he intentionally started fights about the previous 2 issues he knew he would lose on, so the judge would side with him on the final issue to make things fair. Maybe I'm just paranoid, so 2 wins and a loss. Hopefully they'll be too happy about being married to pull any stunts. Child. I mean, I feel like just pick the kids up from the wedding. I don't like, you was gonna either pick them up you was gonna pick them up either way. So picking them up from the house or picking them up from the wedding, I feel like she could do that. I agree with the judge. The other two things, I also agree with the judge. Like I said, she know this man. She was married to him. She just need to keep her head on a swivel just in case he tries some outlandish whatever. Somebody said organize to have a friend or family member who is good at making you see the ridiculousness of X or keeping you calm come with you to pick up the kids from the wedding venue. The buddy system doesn't stop being a good idea when you turn 18. It's useful throughout our lives. I think that's a great idea. I was going to say that too. Have somebody come with you, girl. If you really worried about something happening or something like that, take somebody with you. Have a witness. Have them record a calm witness, somebody who can de-escalate if need be. The next comment said, also have the friend record any interactions you have with anyone associated with him. Make sure to communicate with text as much as possible. Yes, I agree. So there's a new update, another update 2.5 months later. Well, I thought I would update everyone on what happened when I picked my kids up from my ex-husband's wedding. First of all, I got there at 8:20. As soon as I arrived, I texted my ex and my older son that I was there. Then I walked into the lobby. I checked my phone and had no response from either. I waited until 8:40 and then walked to the front desk. I said I was there to pick up my children and asked if maybe my ex had left a message at the desk for me. They knew nothing. I called my older son and he didn't answer. I called my ex and he didn't answer. At this point, my anxiety was bad and I felt sick. Now, what is he up to now? At your wedding? Come on. She said at 9, I called my lawyer and his receptionist said he would call me back. I kept calling my older son and he didn't answer. This was unusual for him. I was scared something had happened. I asked the front desk which room they were in and they couldn't tell me, which I understood. At 9:20, I called the police. It took them a while to get there. When they arrived, it was past 10, the pickup window. I was panicking. All I could think was that my ex was going to tell the judge I was late. When the police arrived, they asked the front desk for my ex's room number. They told the police he had checked out. I didn't know what to think. They asked the front desk if they had kids with them when they left, and they said no. They said my kids were actually booked in a suite with her kids and his parents, and they had paid for late checkout. The officers told me to wait downstairs and went to the room. They came back with my kids and their stuff, and we left. Why would they do? My oldest said his grandfather took his phone away, and they stayed up late and had no alarm set. Both boys said their grandparents were furious when the cops showed up. My lawyer eventually called me back and we scheduled another custody hearing for after the honeymoon. At the hearing, my ex tried to put everything on me. He said he told me the kids would be with his parents. He didn't, and that I staged the whole thing to make him look bad. He also said me calling the police traumatized the kids. I showed the judge all of our communication. The judge even interviewed my kids, who said even they didn't know they would be with their grandparents until the prior evening, by which point my oldest phone had already been confiscated. The judge gave me primary custody with visitation and said all pickups and drop-offs will now be at neutral locations with a 30-minute window. He was done. He was pissed. My ex has filed to have our case transferred to another judge, of course, because this one is clearly biased against him. In the meantime, though, the boys and I are happy and doing well. They're both getting great grades so far this year. What? He's really trying to sabotage the whole thing and set her up. And also, if you already previously were at the court hearing and you told the judge she had to pick the kids up from the wedding venue, why would you then expect that that would not be from you specifically when she's always picking the kids up from you specifically? Nah, this whole thing was definitely a setup, and that's why he wanted to transfer to another judge because he's trying to finesse these situations so that he can get full custody, and his fiance or now wife, new wife, is probably in on it too, conjuring up these cockamamie scenarios to try and get full custody somehow. Somebody said, your ex is going to learn a lesson about family court judges. When you file to have a case transferred and the previous judge was competent and followed the law and did what was best for the kids, the next judge tends to get pissy that someone is attempting to skirt a legal ruling simply because they don't like it. Someone said there's literally no justification for taking the phone away. I'm no judge, but I would assume even if they do get it transferred, the new one is also going to see through that tactic as nothing but the ex using his children to mess with her. Someone said, wow, your ex really is stupid. OP said, I think he thought I would mess up, make a scene, give up, and drive away, or something like that. And plus, he acts like she don't have evidence of her literally being at the resort. It doesn't even make sense. She texted you when she got there. She literally could pull the hotel cameras to show that she was there waiting. So how are you really gonna... Just a dummy. Just stupid. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to contribute to my stepson's college fund? My 39 male and my wife, Emily, 38 female, have been together for 12 years. Emily has a son, James, 17, from a previous relationship with Dan. Emily left Dan when she caught him cheating with a coworker. They shared 50-50 custody of James. I met Emily about a year after she had left Dan. A year later, Dan married his affair partner, and Emily and I got married soon after. James never really bonded with me. I admit that I tried a little too hard initially to get him to like me, but backed off when I realized I was trying too hard and it was having the opposite effect. Over the years, we built a tense acceptance of sorts, if that makes sense. Emily and I have 3 kids, 10 female, 7 male, and 4 male. James doesn't have a good relationship with them either. He bonds well with Dan's sons, but doesn't like spending much time with our kids. He isn't mean to them, but just ignores them mostly. The eldest 2 now just avoid him when he's home. Emily and I both have well-paying jobs, and early on, we decided that I would contribute 80% to our 3 biological kids' college fund. Then Emily would do 20% because she would contribute 100% to James's college fund. James, the stepson. We didn't know if his dad, Dan, was making any such arrangements on his end, but we thought that at least this way, James would have something instead of nothing. My wife, Emily, recently sat him down to talk to him about his college fund. He seemed happy with the financial help he was going to get. He went off to his dad's for the weekend, and when he came back, he asked Emily about our kids' college funds. When he learned that the amount was fairly higher than his, he was upset. When he asked about the disparity, Emily told him about our college fund setup. He was furious to know that I hadn't contributed to his college fund. He said that I was just pretending to play family with him all of these years and that I really didn't care about him and I was a heartless a-hole. Now, wait a minute. Now, you wait just 1 minute, buddy. You have 2 parents that are alive and well. And OP tried to build a relationship with you. Granted, even he admits that he tried a little hard. Too hard and might have pushed you away. But that man don't got no obligation to contribute any money to your college fund. And what you're really probably mad at is that your father probably didn't contribute nothing. Your father is the one who even gave you the idea to ask about this in the first place. What 17-year-old has the gumption to be like, oh, thanks, Mom. You've created a college fund for me? Wait, how much do they have in their college fund? When those kids are not even close. They're not even in middle school yet. Or maybe barely the 10-year-old, maybe. They're not even in high school yet. They're nowhere near college age. So I know that was something that his father put in his head to ask. Now you talking about playing family. We could play, sir. He said, my wife Emily suggested that we could take some money out of our youngest fund and give it to James, and that she would add it back over time, but she said that it was my call, that she won't pressurize me either way and would accept whatever I decided. And I decide no, bitch. He said, quite frankly, I don't want to do it. James idolizes his crappy father even now that he knows he cheated on his mother. I could deal with his crappy behavior with me, but I never understood his attitude towards our kids. We even tried going to family therapy. He refused to go. I'm sorry, my screen share keeps stopping for some reason, and I did not notice. So I think I was still on the old story. My bad, but let's continue. Yeah, he said, we even tried going to family therapy. He refused to go because I wasn't his family. Now, when he needs money, suddenly I am family. Right. I know I am perhaps being petty, but I don't want to give him the money. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. At the end of the day, like I said, he has two able-bodied, alive and well parents that he sees on a 50-50 basis. You are the stepfather, barely. He probably don't even consider you that. He probably just considers you his mom's new husband. And you have no obligation to give money into his fund. The only time he want to talk about some family was when it's some funds involved. Okay, I stepped away for a second, so I don't exactly remember where I was, but I think it was here. Basically, he was saying, now when he needs money, suddenly I'm family. And then there's an edit. I think some clarifications are in order. I don't hate that James idolizes his father. I hate that he blames his mother for their family breaking up. When James was 13, he had heard from one of his older cousins on his father's side what his father had done that led to Emily leaving. When he confronted her about it, she explained, "We tried for therapy then, but didn't happen. We'll explain later. Last year, he told his mother that he believes she was responsible, that instead of leaving his father, she should have forgotten about what he did and continued to stay with him. My wife, Emily, was expectedly shocked, but when she asked him if the situation was reversed and she had cheated on his father and he left her, would then the father be blamed for the family breaking up? He said no, that would definitely be her fault, and made no further explanations." This young man is beyond reason. Okay, so let's just start there. How you gonna blame the mom for leaving your father when your father cheated, but saying if the roles were reversed, it would still be the mom's fault if she was the one that cheated and the father left? Anyway, he said this was not as a result of an argument or heat of the moment statement. Ironically, this was a casual dinner table conversation. The other kids had to be excused from the table. When Emily and I had gotten together and things were starting to look serious, she had wanted to take him to a child therapist who could help him adjust better to the changing situation around him. Since they shared 50-50 custody, Dan's consent was needed and he refused. When we were going to get married, we tried for therapy. Dan said he got married before us and James had no issues, that we were overreacting and he didn't need therapy. When the above incident happened, when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, and most recently after last year's incident, this time we asked him directly. We thought if he agreed to family therapy, then we could speak to our lawyer and work around the custody arrangement since he was almost an adult. This was when he refused therapy, saying that I wasn't family. For all of those saying that I am treating a teenager like an adult, that I made him feel like the other and not one of us, we tried. When we both started earning well, we wanted to splurge on our kids during holidays and birthdays. James was never excluded. Whatever our kids got, he got too. In fact, as he got older, he got to pick what he wanted. For his 11th birthday, he wanted to go to Disney World. Both of Dan's kids were invited. His youngest son and my daughter are the same age. He went, she wasn't invited. We stayed home. So the son went by himself? His youngest son and my daughter are the same age. I don't know, child. Basically, they're trying to say they made him feel included. They said we started the college funds about a year after our daughter was born. My wife couldn't start one for James earlier since she was a stay-at-home mom when she was with James's father. It took her a while to get back on her feet. she wasn't in a position to immediately start a college fund for him. What a lot of you pointed out is right. He has been shortchanged. My wife will rectify that and make up the deficit he should get by the time he starts college. But that will still not make it as much as the remaining 3. We have decided to sit and have a chat with him this weekend about everything. My opinion hasn't changed. He has a father. He has a mother. Those 2 people need to be the one contributing to his college fund. I don't even know why he looking the stepfather's way for anything. So somebody said, tell him, James, you're mad at the wrong person. You have 2 biological parents. One of them has saved up money for you. The other hasn't. Exactly. Someone says, by the way the story reads, this is exactly what Dan, James's father, is afraid of. The kid was excited, then went to see his dad. Then he came back asking loaded questions. His father saw the potential to look like a bad guy and redirected. Edit to add, the boy is 17 and idolizes his father. If there is an age to be super naive about idols, that's it. I wouldn't assume he's a lost cause. Idols tend to disappoint. One day he will realize dad chose sexual gratification over providing a stable, healthy childhood to his son. That's not a lesson anyone but Dan can teach him. Someone said, not the a-hole, but why in the world did your wife tell him about your other kids' college funds? It's simply none of his business, and giving him the details was just going to upset him. He was perfectly fine with the arrangement before he knew the younger kids are getting more than him. Your wife is the a-hole for opening up a conversation about money with her 17-year-old son, and even more of the a-hole for suggesting you take money out of the other kids' funds to make him happy. I don't blame him for getting upset, but your wife needs to contribute more to his fund if she wants to make him happy. So update 3 days later, it's been an eye-opening weekend. Thanks to everyone who weighed in, even the aggressive ones. I knew what I was signing up for posting on Reddit. Before the update, a couple of clarifications because gaps in info turned into wild assumptions. When I said I came on a little too strong with James when we met, some of you pictured me grabbing a toddler by the neck and hissing, "Call me daddy." No, I was nervous and acted like an idiot and used an over-the-top baby voice because I'd barely been around toddlers. Emily later said I sounded like a circus clown on 2 cartons of Red Bull. Cringe, absolutely. Malicious, no. Many had questions regarding therapy. I shared the timeline in this comment thread, so I'm not going to rewrite that again. And then he shares the comment thread. If you want to read it, you can. Oops. See, my screen is not sharing again. Okay, now it's sharing. This is the comment. I also have the link in the description if you want to go to it. But then he continues, many called my wife the a-hole for sharing the college fund amounts for our kids. I showed her the post. She explained James came back from his father's with questions about when the fund started, how much, etc. He said, paraphrasing, so mine is this amount and theirs is this amount, with his amount being higher than our kids. Without thinking, yes, stupidly, Emily corrected him. No, yours is this amount and theirs is this amount. That snowballed into what I wrote earlier. It wasn't a diabolical plan to make me pay more. It was a thoughtless correction. With that out of the way, Emily, James, and I sat down for a conversation yesterday. James didn't want to talk to me, but I told him that if he expected me to even think about contributing to his college fund, then I've got loads of questions that he needs to answer. It was an extremely long conversation, and many revelations came to be. So I'm going to give a summary of the things we finally found out from James. Ooh, child. All right. Even before Emily and Dan had broken up, not divorced, they were never married, Dan had occasionally brought James to his affair partner's place, so James was familiar with the affair partner. After the breakup, his father, Dan, immediately moved in with his affair partner. Emily, who was a stay-at-home mom until then, struggled initially to get back on her feet. Needless to say, James's home life with Emily was a little bit more chaotic than at his father's and his affair partner's. Emily hadn't told James that she had left his father because of the cheating. Telling that to a toddler wouldn't make any sense. But apparently, in the early days, Dan, James's father, used to tell James that Emily would eventually come back to him. I think he may have been holding out hope for reuniting with Emily. And that's where I came in. Dan told James that as long as I am around, I would not let Emily go back to Dan. When Dan married his affair partner, he told James that it was temporary. It was a way to make his mother jealous. When we got married, he told James that it was my way of making it even more difficult for Emily to get back to their family. The dad is diabolical. Why is he telling his son all of this stuff and feeding him all of these lies? Either he truly believes this or he's just continuing to try and make himself out to be the good guy in this situation where he's the one that actually messed up. He said when James had found out from his cousin on his father's side that his father had cheated on his mother, which was the reason for their breakup. Oh, I think that should have said then James found out. And then it said when James had asked his mother about it, she had been open and honest about everything. When he confronted his father about the same, he told James that Emily had left him for a long time and his loneliness made him miss her a lot. And so he found some comfort with the affair partner. The dad is diabolical, just lying at every turn. Emily's father had met with a car accident, and she was with her parents for about 3 weeks to help them. And that's all the alone time Dan could handle before he needed to dip his wick in something. But it was a reasonable enough explanation for James to absolve his father of all sins. When Emily, my wife, got pregnant with our daughter, her ex told James, now that I have started, quote, pumping my spawn into his mother, end quote. These were the exact words James used. James's family was destroyed forever. He told James that my wife and I had been wanting to take him to therapy, which was actually a ruse. What we were really trying to do was take him to the doctor who would declare him a problem child, and then we would ship him off. Oh, so this is the lie that the dad was saying. The dad was saying them talking about therapy was a ruse. What they really wanted to do to him, which is a lie, is ship him off to boarding school so that we could continue to play happy family without being bothered by him. Only Dan and his family were fighting to keep James with him. That's the lie that Dan, his father, said. James admitted that he had hoped his detached behavior around my family and happy and joyous behavior around Dan's would convince his mother that my kids and I were evil and she would eventually leave us. But sadly, I kept, quote, knocking up his mom, end quote, making it harder for her to leave. Expectedly, Emily was beyond distraught to hear everything. To be honest, in the moment, I couldn't wrap my head around it much either. I asked if his father had a college fund saved up for him and his sons. James said affair partner's parents have set up a trust fund for Dan's sons, but that does not include James since he isn't their grandson. Dan has not saved up anything for anyone. And are we surprised? I'm not surprised. I asked James why he suddenly thinks I should contribute to his fund when he has turned down every opportunity for us to be a family. He said he was actually okay with the amount that Emily initially told him about, but his father made him realize that we were undercutting him, so he came back to demand more. I asked if I pay the money, will that then make us a family? Even if he can't accept me as a step-parent, can we be friends? Can he be a little more friendlier with my kids when he's around? He straight up said no. Well, at least he's honest. He said that after all these years, he knows me or my kids are not the evil beings his father made us seem, but he still feels I am the reason his parents could never get back together again, and for that, he will always hate me. And since my kids are, well, my kids, he's never going to like them either. Damn. His father really did a number. That was years and years of grooming and manipulation. He will never, ever, ever, ever be able to accept OP as his stepfather. And I'm glad at least that he didn't say yes just to get the money and then switch up. At least he was honest, but dang. He said, and since now he knows that his mother, Emily, is not going to leave me, he said his plan was once he was off to college, he would cut off contact with all of us. He does plan to eventually get back in touch with his mother when he feels he's ready to forgive her for breaking up his family, but he can't do that right now. He is really brainwashed. He really thinks she broke up the family. OP said, Emily and I have had a long and honest discussion. I have decided that I will not be making any contributions to James's college fund. Emily will continue the contribution that she was already making and hand it over to him once he turns 18. We will no longer be pursuing family therapy with James. We will not try to change his mind about going no contact with us after he goes off to college. We've done all we could do. We're going to stop now. If James is happy with his father's family, then we're happy for him. It's going to be hard for Emily, but even she has accepted that after James's recent revelations, she's having a hard time reconciling that her little boy is this cynical teenager. We have both taken individual and couples therapy before, mainly due to the stress and anxiety James's behavior used to put on us as a family. We're looking into starting again. Hopefully we'll be able to overcome this in time. This is so sad. This is so sad. Because it's like, if the father hadn't been telling him these lies all these years, he would not. I mean, I highly doubt that he would realistically believe that it was his mother's fault. Still to this day, yes, I understand the years where he was, being fed the lie, but now that you know the truth, you still believe that your mother broke up the family? And to me, that's because his father lied to him all these years. I feel like once he goes off to college, once he has his own relationships and his own experiences, and he sees how the world works in different relationships, and he sees what a deadbeat his father is and how much he's not going to help him when he's in college, I think after that he will see the light. But as I said, there's really not anything else they can do at this point, and it's really sad. I really hate that for him. So a new update 9 days later. I've been getting so many messages and comments that I haven't been able to reply to them all. Emily and I are deeply grateful for all the kind words we have received, and even the unkind ones have been insightful in their own way. A lot of you asked how we did not know that Dan was brainwashing James against us. It's not that we didn't know. We knew that some level of parental alienation was happening, hence why we repeatedly advocated for therapy, but we didn't know to what extent. Like I said in a comment before, whenever we tried to talk to James, he would either throw a tantrum or simply sit like a stone and not say a word. Since therapy was denied repeatedly, we really couldn't do much. The fact that Dan filled James's head with this kind of BS, we really didn't know. Last year, when James spewed his judgment on how Emily was to blame for their family breaking up, is when we had our first inclination of how much James had been poisoned against us. As for suing Dan for parental alienation, at this point, it doesn't matter. James will turn 18 early next year, and we have no proof of anything. We did not record the conversation we had with him, and James is not a reliable witness. He would easily lie to protect his father. Now, coming to the recent developments, after everything that James said, Emily was very shocked and devastated. For all those who said she should have told James that his father was the problem, not us, and so many other things, reality was that she said nothing because she couldn't. Real life isn't like some scene from a movie or series where characters have replies ready at the tip of their tongue. When your son spews this level of hate towards you, it's hard to comprehend and respond with zingers. That said, we have had time to think things over, and we have considered a lot of the advice that we got from here. Emily has decided that while she will continue to add to James's fund until he turns 18, she will not be handing over the money to him. As per the advice given by many, she will be paying directly to the institution that James gets admission into. Ooh, that's smart. I like that. That is really smart. If he chooses not to go to college, then the money will be held back and given to him when he turns 25. In the hopefully very unlikely case of Emily passing before James turns 25, then our lawyer will be in charge of ensuring that James gets the money at the allotted time. This is to ensure that neither James or his father can blame me for meddling with the money. Since our last conversation, James had not come home. He stayed at a friend's place for a few days, then went back to his father's place. Emily asked him to come over on Saturday. She sat him down and told him that since he is hell-bent on giving up his relationship with us, then there was no point on walking on eggshells around him any longer. She told him that she was hurt and disappointed by his behavior. For him to believe that his mother was to be blamed for their family breaking up was unacceptable. She said that if he feels his father cheating is acceptable and she should have gone back to him, then she cannot see eye to eye with him. This is not word for word of the conversation. I am mostly paraphrasing. She told him that I will not be making any contributions to his fund. Since he doesn't think of me as family, I have no obligation to add to his funds. And if he still feels that his fund is lacking, then he should ask his father to make up for the deficit. I know that's right. She also told him that he will not be getting direct access to his funds and that payments from the fund will be made directly to whatever college he attends. He was also made aware of what happens if he doesn't go to college. Emily also let him know that from now on, if he wishes not to come over to our place, he doesn't have to. We discussed it with our lawyer. While Emily will not be giving up custody yet, she will not be enforcing that James stay with her as per the custody arrangements. He silently listened to everything she said. He didn't leave his room that night and went back to his father's place on Sunday. We haven't heard anything from him since then. This is making me mad. I hope he had fun over that deadbeat's house. There's another update. Dang, this is long. Somebody makes a good point. Let's remember that while James's behavior is deeply frustrating and disappointing, he's ultimately still a victim here. Blah, blah. Yeah, we know, but still, he's still acting like an a-hole. He's still being rude and disrespectful. Anyway, update 1 month later. I still keep getting messages for an update, so here it is. But this is the last one. For about 2 weeks after Emily's last conversation with James, when he was told that I would not be making any contributions to his fund and that Emily would be paying directly to any college or university or trade school that James decided to go to, but not hand the money to him. Moreover, he was also told that if he... Okay, just a recap. After that conversation went down, there was radio silence from him for a little over 2 weeks. He stayed with his father, and Emily did not insist that he come over to our place as per the custody arrangement. Then suddenly, James called Emily saying that he has gotten admission into a college and needs his entire college fund to book his admission. So now you're trying to scam. This fool really thinks you think you're smarter than the program. A lot of times people say bigger than the program. You think you're smarter than the program, and you're not. I don't know what your father done put up in your head now. Obviously, he's trying to get to the money. You need to be looking at your father. It sucks to see that he really doesn't see how his father is the villain here. I wish he would get it. I understand why he hasn't. Again, he's a minor and he's been groomed and manipulated all these years. So it's going to take some time to undo what has been done. But come on, you got admission to a college and you need the whole fund right now. That's not even how colleges work. I ain't never seen I've been to 3 different colleges. I didn't see not now one college that requires you to give them the entire admission up front. Anyway, he talking about he got admitted into a college and needed his entire college fund to book his admission. It's been a while since Emily and I graduated, but we know enough to know that's not how it works. Application processes start around this time of year, and deadlines are about February to March. No college asks for full payment up front. At most, a small deposit is required to hold a spot after an official acceptance letter is issued. My wife said she would be more than happy to hand over the entire fund, but not to him. She would make the payment to the college directly. James said the college had no such option. At this point, this conversation was so comically ridiculous, I don't even know what to say. It's like he thought we were brainless idiots. He wouldn't tell us the name of this not at all imaginary college. He wouldn't show us the acceptance letter that he apparently got. He just wanted us to hand over the money. When Emily refused, he started to get agitated and had started to raise his voice, so Emily disconnected the call. Not even an hour later, Dan called. Of course, because who else is the one putting this information in this boy's head? This was surprising for us. In the past 12 years, it was always us who would reach out to Dan. Mostly Emily, but on the rare occasion I have too, majorly begging him to consent for therapy, which he consistently denied. Dan accused us of emotionally abusing James and causing him mental distress. He claimed that by denying James access to his college fund, we were sabotaging his future and causing him emotional harm. Emily calmly explained that the money in question is her personal savings intended for James, yes, but not legally or morally owed to him. It could just as easily serve as her retirement fund. There's absolutely no legal basis to claim that money belongs to James. Things got nasty after that, and Dan called Em and I names. So obviously, she hung up. On a positive note, because we were so surprised that Dan had called, we recorded the call. Things went back to radio silence until this Monday. Dan's cousin, Julie, mother of the boy who had told James that it was his dad who had cheated on my wife, has always been on good terms with my wife. She's a really sweet lady. Her twins and my daughter are great friends. She believes that Dan is a piece of shit, and James is the only reason she barely maintains a civil relationship with him. She came by and informed us that Dan's wife, the affair partner, is divorcing him. Apparently, he cheated on her too. What a surprise. She separated from him months ago and is living with her parents with her sons. What did I say? Dan need access to that money. He trying to get access to his son's money. Ain't that about it? That's sad. Meanwhile, Dan's parents have been asking family members to lend him money for a quote new business, but unsurprisingly, no one has pitched in. We now believe his sudden demand for James's college fund may have been tied to that. Emily has tried calling and texting James since then, but he hasn't answered or responded. While our situation isn't resolved yet, this will be my final update. Emily and I are deeply grateful for all of the genuine support, empathy, and thoughtful advice we've received. Unfortunately, there have also been some vile and malicious comments and DMs from people hiding behind anonymity to say the worst things possible about me and my wife. And they continue to do this even when I have ignored them and not risen to the bait. We don't need that kind of negative energy in our lives right now. Whatever happens next, we'll face it privately together as a family. Thanks again to everyone who's been kind and truly helpful. The dad just infuriates me. You're not a good person at all. You cheated on your ex. You told your son that you had with that ex that it was the ex's fault because she wasn't giving you enough attention. Then you villainized the ex's new man and made that son believe that the new man was evil. Then you villainized the kids they have. And you manipulated this boy all these years so he couldn't have a good family life, wouldn't let him go to therapy, wouldn't let him get any type of help or anything. Not to mention, you married the girl that you cheated with, then cheated on her, then tried to steal your own son's college fund because you're a brokey. The whole thing is just sad, and now the son is in the middle of this. He about to see real soon, I promise you. He's about to see real soon the type of person that his father is. Once it really sets in, oh man, he cheated on his new girl too? This man is really not a good person. At least I hope he sees. I really hope he sees. Whoo, child. I did not know that was going to be that long, but oh, goodness gracious. So for the palate cleanser, I found this video on Instagram. The text on screen says, my parents have been married 63 years. She was recently diagnosed with lung cancer and she's trying on new wigs And then it said, he tried to be encouraging, laughing emoji. Y'all, hold on.
She's trying on wings? Yeah. That's good. Oh, look at that. I don't believe I like that. You know, you look like Willie Nelson. No, honey, we got to get a different one.
She came out the room in a wig that looked like Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family. It was like, so it's a little white lady, older white lady. She's petite and small. She came out with this jet black middle part wig that was braided into 2 large braids on each side. And the hairline didn't look natural at all. It looked synthetic. It looked like a costume wig. So he at first was trying to be supportive. Then he was like, nah, I don't think I like that. He said you look like Willie Nelson. Whoo! Man, I want my husband to be that honest with me. Please let me know if I'm looking crazy. Let's laugh together. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully I can play that palette cleanser because it did have some music on it. But, you know, if not, you won't see it. Happy Halloween again, and I'll see you in the next video.